Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below. And seeing as this is 3MB, we're proudly sponsored by VMB Auto Centres at Handsworth. They're still offering that amazing deal of 50% off your MOT when you let them know that you're a Rambler. Call them now on 0114 322 4446. Thank you to VMB Auto Centres for their continued support of the Ramble.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, throwing my tea down my neck because I haven't had a chance to get sorted. I've just been on with Cal, as some of you may be aware. We're over on Ramble FC doing our Yorkshire's Finest show. Always have a good laugh with Cal doing that. We finished at 7. I had to go and pick my girls up from... They were doing some sort of camp thing at Brownies. I still hadn't had any tea, so I picked them up at like 20 to 8. Well, I picked them up at 25 to... I was home for about quarter to, threw a sarnie down my neck, and I'm here. I'm here because we usually do 3 Mardy Blades on a Sunday. We couldn't do Sunday because the Man Mountain was at Oasis, and then we were going to switch to Monday, but then Dave the Nose has got a prior engagement tonight. So it were up in the air, and we were getting excited about tomorrow night when we were talking earlier, the 3 of us, and we'll come on to why we were all on a call earlier. But yeah, we're all excited. So me and Man Mountain decided, well, should we just go on and talk about it then? Because we're buzzing, and we've talked about it, you know, throughout the week. But since the Oxford, you've got to enjoy the wins. And Wilder talked about it in his presser earlier today. You've got to enjoy these moments when you're winning. Who knows? We might get turned over by Southampton tomorrow, and then we're down at dumps again, aren't we? So let us enjoy these wins. Let us, like, it's the hope that kills you, as my dad always tells me. But let us just hang on to that glimmer of hope that this is Sheffield United potentially turning a corner with a win at Oxford and hopefully rolling into Southampton. So, no Dave the Nose tonight, unfortunately, but I am joined by the man himself. It's the Man Mountain.
This is the view from the mountain with a heart so pure it's astounding. Man Mountain, strong and true. What a man, what a view.
Now then, my mates, how are you doing?
I'm dancing.
Dancing. You're giddy, you, aren't you?
I'm happy. Happy as Lawrence, mate. Absolutely buzzing.
As Lawrence?
Oh, Larry, innit? Larry short for Lawrence or something.
Is it? Okay. Okay, we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
It could be. Who cares? Come on.
More merch. Happy as Lawrence. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You're full of it, you mate, with them sort of stuff.
Full of something, yeah.
Mate, I haven't spoken to you properly since we got the result. First of all, let's get it out of the way. How was Oasis?
Hands down the best gig I've ever been to, easily.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, easy.
Don't surprise me you've said that, though, because I loved it when I went as well. It's absolutely
unbelievable.
Brilliant.
All thriller, no filler. Just like the Ramble, mate.
Nice. I like. Speaking of the Ramble, what happened to you at the gig? Do you want to tell everybody what happened?
Mate, the most surreal thing that's ever happened to me, I reckon. So, getting overexcited, Mrs. is like, that's like, do you want to go on my shoulders? She goes, I haven't got the right skirt on. I went, don't worry then, no worries. And she looks at me like that. Yeah, let's do it then. So I loft her up on the top. She's shaking like a shit, like a crazy
shaky
person.
thing. Shaking like a shaky thing.
Demonetized. Sorry,
it's all right. It's all right. You caught it. You caught it, mate. You caught it. You're all right.
She was a bit nervous. The bloke next to her was like this, holding her hand. I was like, "What's going on here?" But he's helping her. He's helping her. And then obviously it comes.
Do you want to start, mate? Do you want to fight while Mrs. is on the shoulders?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, then the tricky part comes where you want to actually get down again, which is always good fun. So bloke next to us is like, holding her hand, and she's like helping her get down and stuff. Very grateful, and we're a bit euphoric. It's fair to say. And she goes over to say thank you to him. And he says, "Is your husband called Paul?" And she was like that. Oh, no way. No way. She couldn't believe it. And I was like, oh, yeah. He goes, I think I know him, but I don't want to disturb him at the gig. I was like, come on, mate. Come on. Go in for a cuddle and a kiss and a photo. And then Jason is a top bloke, very helpful man, as it turns out. And I was stood next to a fellow
Platinum Rambler.
His brother at the gig. So yeah, brilliant, absolutely
Platinum
brilliant.
Ramblers stood together. Where were you? At Wembley, were it?
Yeah, Wembley. Yeah, so
Unbelievable.
Stood in a crowd of like, God, what? How many people? 90,000, hundreds? I don't know. And he stood next to us, and she was
everywhere.
Like, she was laughing her head off, but she was like, I cannot believe that. I can't.
Them Ramblers get everywhere, don't they?
I know,
Absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
So, mate, right, back to the matter at hand. Sheffield United, have we turned a corner? That's the main question that we want to know. Into is this the start where our season kicks into gear, or is it just a false dawn where we can't get carried away? What's your thoughts, mate? What's your thoughts on it?
You can clip this up one way or the other, can't you?
Yeah, can you?
Framed
perfectly.
Got to be cautious here and win 4-0 tomorrow. No, it's a good result. It's a really good result, and it's needed. And you saw an improvement. I wouldn't say an improvement in the first half. I thought it was dire, to be frank.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second half we did improve and stepped onto them and started to dominate the game. I did say beforehand, didn't I, about our change of approach in what we would have expected from Oxford, potentially from last season, where they would have seen us rolling in on, and obviously we'd won a lot of games, and the way that teams approach you changes, doesn't it? If they've had a couple of good results, which they've definitely had, Oxford going to Bristol, winning, etc. So I think that they entered the game with a bit more confidence. I thought their winger, Pacheco, was it?
Yeah.
I thought he looked really handy. I was really shocked when they took him off.
Yeah, quite lively, weren't he?
I thought he was having a really good game. He's able to carry the ball, and we looked like we were struggling to take it off him, frankly. But no, I thought that they, like you say, to take a lead in a game and then to be able to see it out. I know they hit the post. I'd like to have thought Cooper had that one covered, but Ben Mee certainly. There was a lot of calls for him to be the man of the match in the Ramblers chat. I thought he was excellent in the second half. Again, first half, I thought he missed a few bits and bobs, but that's going to happen. He's going to be a little bit ring rusty, shall we say?
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really good 3 points. I love the end. I think the fans. I mean,
incredible.
No false sentiment here. It's all I could hear for the entire game. So I was like, quality, and it was really good. And then the players going over at the end, you just felt that little bit of obviously there'll be a bit of relief in the players, as Wilder likes to say. The shirt will feel a bit lighter.
Yes.
Tomorrow night, and you're hoping that some of those high ability players we've got in attacking positions are going to feel a little bit more right. We've got that one out of the way. We've hung on. We've put some good football together, and it was a good half of football for us. And we spoke about Cal O'Hare, and a lot of us were calling for him to be dropped, and he's answered those critics because I thought he was excellent throughout the whole game.
Would you say all game?
I thought he, of everybody on that pitch, certainly for the 90. I thought Ben Mee, obviously, the last thing you remember was some of his good interceptions and things that he was doing.
Yeah.
But I thought that Cal O'Hare was busy, and I think he gave us. He put in a really good performance and got his goal and got his just desserts. And I said it to you just with Cal a minute ago. Wilder will be saying to him, you've got to get in the box more. You've got to be in there because the number of goals scored inside the box versus outside is ridiculous. It's like 95% of goals are scored from the inside the box. Another about over half of goals are scored from in line with the posts. And it's like, you've got to, if you're an attacking 10, you've got to get in there, and you've got to be able to finish, and you've got to commit, because when, like you said, we spoke about getting ricochets and bits and bobs. You've got to be in there to benefit from those things. And I just thought, hats off to Cal O'Hare, because you know, there's people who love him. He's got his critics, but I thought he was excellent, and I'll just be intrigued now to see what he does with the team, because it's a quick turnaround. But I don't think you can go about making big changes to your team from a Saturday, Tuesday perspective. I think the changes may come on Saturday if we have some, but I think he may go same team potentially.
I'm going to ask you about that because obviously it's a 3-game week, and usually the smart thing to do is to rotate, and I completely understand that, and I think it probably leans towards we will do that anyway. But after the whole game, which is the game at the weekend, it's an international break, so you do have that chance to have the rest and recovery that obviously you're trying to save the players from with the quick turnarounds. I think that is my only question mark over whether he goes with the same team again, the fact that there's an international break coming up. Because I think if there wasn't an international break and we're straight into another game the following Saturday, for example, I think he rests Ben Mee. I think he rests other players that, like Samaria, for example, who haven't played significant minutes this season, just to try and rotate and keep things fresh.
That is the one change that I can see, is Matos in for Samari. That is the one change that I can envisage him.
Do you not think he drops Ben Mee then? And I don't mean, obviously he doesn't. When I said dropped, that's a bit of an old school term, isn't it? But it's in terms of his match fit. He always talks about protecting the players. You know, we don't want to break them. All these sort of terms that he uses. Ben Godfrey does slot in as a wide centre half, if you like. I think maybe a right-sided centre half will probably work. I think because we've got options, he may choose to rotate Ben Mee out. I hope I am wrong, because Ben Mee would be one of the first names on my team sheet, but it's a question as to whether Wilder will play him, I think, tomorrow.
I personally think, in the circumstances we've beaten in and the result, the way it went on Saturday, I think he would be very keen to play Ben Mee in this game, depending on what Ben Mee says. So if Ben Mee says, my legs are really stiff, I don't feel right, and I expect Ben Mee, to be honest, being a senior pro who knows his body. If he says to him, if that's the case, he'll be ready for Saturday and fresh for Saturday. I think when you talk about defences, Jim, we spoke about how you don't need to be as, I don't think you have to be as match sharp. You
don't have to be super fit athlete, do you?
That's right. You have to be obviously well conditioned. It's professional sport, but I think if there's a chance of him playing and him potentially coming off, I think it's when you've just got that first little bit of success, your first clean sheet, your first points of the season. I think he'll be keen to try and get some momentum within the team, and that comes through a little bit of consistency in the lineup. I think that, like I said, Matos may come in for Samari, for the energy levels, because it's going to be. I think Samari drifted in and out of the game on Saturday, personally.
Agreed.
And I think Matos does offer us he's got a really good engine in there, and I think that it might be perfect, as he only did 25 minutes or whatever it was on Saturday, for him to come in and play this one. And he might rotate again at the weekend. But when it comes to the defence, I think getting into your routines and getting an understanding together at the proper level in championship matches, I think that's important. And I don't think I'd be happy. Obviously, it'll depend on the conditioning and the conversations and what's happening behind the scenes. All the information that we don't always get, that we sometimes speculate on. About how fit the players are when Wilder decides to change the team around. But I think if we can play him, I think we should, personally.
I agree. I hope you're right. I just wonder, because my desire is the same as yours, to play the same team. Probably Matos in for Samari. I'd probably lean towards that. Yep. But I'm not convinced he does. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what he does. You mentioned Callum O'Hare. I think it's a really pertinent person to talk about, really, because I think he, in some elements, he flatters to deceive, and in other elements, I think he's quite underrated. So you talk about things like his energy, and people sort of take it for granted that he is the Energizer Bunny of the team, and it's like, well, he runs and all that sort of stuff. Wilder made a quip today that he's not training for Olympics, though. He's here to get goals and assists, which is absolutely bang on. I love the comment from him. He ran 14k, he said, in his numbers, which is incredible distance to cover over 90 minutes. I think we underestimate the effort levels that he gives to us. Just because you get used to something doesn't mean you should rest on your laurels and expect it from anybody that's on the pitch. I think it's really important when we're playing a pressing game that Callum O'Hare is acknowledged for the work rate that he puts in. I think he is sometimes a little bit sloppy in possession and doesn't always do the best thing in the final third, but I also think he's quite a clever player. So he's reluctant to shoot on the edge, which we've talked about previously, and he's a little bit shot shy. And I think that's largely to do with a lack of power that I think he can get into his shots, or whether that's a lack of confidence that it all drip feeds in from. But you've hit the nail on the head for me. If he hangs around the penalty spot, or he aims to be on the penalty spot when a cross is coming in, you don't need to smack it 50 mile an hour. You need to do what he did at the weekend, and you place it. You place it into the... He's technically a very gifted player, and I think that hopefully can only give him confidence that he can do that. So previous goals for Sheffield United, he's like bundled it in over line and stuff like that, and it's not really been... I mean, I want the cleanest of strikes at the weekend, but he has placed that, and he has been the match winner for us. And if that doesn't give him a lift, then I don't know what will. Also, the manager's backed him by sticking with him. A lot of people were calling for 2 up front. Wilder will hear all these calls. People will be in his ears all the time about what you need to do. He's the manager. He made the call to stick with Callum O'Hare. Like you said, a lot of us were calling for him to be dropped. It's not an easy thing to... With the formation that Wilder set up in, and I know it was fluid, and we can talk about the formation if you want, but it was easy to take out a 10 in that formation. So Callum O'Hare could have lifted out pretty easily and gone with Cannon and Campbell up top with the 3 at the back. And he chose to stick with Callum O'Hare. So he clearly thinks a lot of him and thinks he can offer something to this team. And I'm hoping that this is Callum O'Hare about to catch fire here and could possibly contribute a little bit more than we've seen, certainly over the last 12 months or so, in terms of goals and assists.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. I think I don't think I thought it was a good strike on Saturday, and I think he placed it there on purpose. It reminded me of Sander Berger in one of his. He used to like hit the side net with a lot of his shots, didn't he? Down in that bottom left corner, he liked that. It reminded me of that a little bit, and I think that I don't blame Callum O'Hare for the lack of shots on target as a team, but I do think that we've relied heavily on, certain individuals within this side to score us goals. And I think if you play in the position that you do play, like he plays, again, I said it before on yours and Cal's stream just earlier, you've got to get your numbers up. You've got to be doing better. And you remarked about Raksaki. He had decent numbers considering the minutes on the pitch and the assists. And so he did have decent numbers, although we didn't always think he was doing the right things with the ball, and we didn't think he made good decisions. He did score goals. And O'Hare's been able to get away with a little bit, not really coming to the party when it comes to assists and goals. His numbers are not good, not great. We can pull them up and have a look at, but we've relied heavily on Campbell and Hamer, and to an extent Raksaki at times as well, when he was chosen, and Diaz when he was firing as well. But we're relying on certain players to pull us out of the mire all the time. And if you look at Siddy, if you looked at Sousa, the only one that ever contributed, in Davies as well, gets the odd one, doesn't he? But the only one that seemed to contribute when fit was Arblaster with a few strikes, and he can hit the ball quite well from distance as well. Burrows is probably the other one that we rely on a little bit for a goal or two. I think he's got better numbers than Cal O'Hare. That shouldn't really be the case.
No, it shouldn't. Not when you've got a number 10. No.
So I think there is an emphasis on it, because if he does shoot and does pull the trigger, there's been a number of occasions where he hasn't been miles away, and he's almost turned down the shot and delayed the shot long enough for someone to come and tackle him. And I think he'll be saying to him, O'Hare's well regarded in this division, and if he was able to start producing 10, 11, 12 goals, you might start talking about him as someone that you can go to the Premier League with, because technically I think he is a good player. He does look lightweight at times, but in the Premier League you get looked after better than you do in the Championship for that anyway. But I think he'll need to step up with his goal contributions, that's for sure. And I'm really pleased for him, because he seems like a nice kid. It clearly meant a lot to him and the team. But again, like Wilder says, it's scores for show, doubles for dough, like in the darts. You've got it. If you're gonna get any kudos, you've got to go and score a goal. You've got to go and get your numbers in there. And
I think it's ideal time to remind him of that. Really, it's not just patting him on the head and well done, and that's really good that what you've done today. It's no, come on, kick on, because we believe we can get more out of you. You can get more out of your ability. So, and I think in terms of looking after the ball, I think he's done a better job of that this season than he did last. I think he's a little bit strong, not massively, but I think he's a little bit stronger in possession than he has been. I just think some of his decision making in final third, as I said, is a little bit suspect. The one thing I want to sort of briefly touch on, and it is briefly, because I have to be accountable for the stuff I say, and I don't want it to become a witch hunt, but I also think it's a relevant conversation, and it's about Tyrese Campbell. And I think in the summer I speculated that I think we might have seen the best of Tyrese Campbell in a Sheffield United shirt, and I hoped I was wrong. And he hasn't started this season great. The one thing I will say is he played to such a high level last season, unexpectedly. He has set the bar so high for himself that I think a lot of us, me included, are holding him to this standard of being an outstanding championship striker who can lead the line as a lone striker, which is a very difficult job to do. And because he's here, I think it's sort of not looking great for him, and I think it's causing him to get some not unnecessary, but some stick. Whereas he's probably better than his current performances, but not quite as good as last season when everything settles down. That were him at his absolute best at times last season. I still think he looks a little bit unfit, if I'm honest, at the moment. Something my Aunt Sal were mentioning when we watched him other day. What's the situation where are you concerned with Ty Campbell? Is it a confidence thing? You always tend to circle back to these things, particularly with strikers. We haven't been playing well as a team. He's been part of a poor team. It's not all been because of Tyrese Campbell that we're in this mess, but we did rely on him a lot last season, as you've said, for goals. And what's he got? Has he got one this year? And not really looked anything like he did this time last season when he were first coming into the side.
I think it's an overall concern with all the forward players, Jim. I think that we spoke about it again, if you're in those attacking positions, you've got to be sharper than the people that you're against, because it's a lot harder to go by somebody, do something creative, thread a pass, score a goal. It's a lot harder than defending. You can, the odds are stacked for the defender,
That's right.
And I think if you're going to play in that position, you've got to be sharp over 5 yards. And like you've said, I don't think any of them are, or any of them have looked like that. And I think Wilder's kind of figured that out. And I think he's probably going to be on at them now to make that change in terms of how they go about it. With regards to being a lone forward, which is what he's been in a struggling team, I think that must be the hardest position of the lot.
Agreed.
If the service is poor, Jim, I mean, I agree with you that I don't think he's brought enough to the table with regards to away from, getting shots away. And what centre forward on his own needs to bring to the table is either the threatening behind, or they need to come and look after the ball for you when the ball's played to them. Do I think he's done that well? No. But do I think any of those forward players can look at themselves in the mirror and say, I've been playing to the best that I can. I feel sharp. I'm doing well. No. So I think it's... I still give him a pass for now, because I think under Wilder, he's still proven to be probably the best we've got in that respect, with Cannon still struggling a little bit. When Ings is fit, that'll be a different conversation, I think. But I think Campbell's going to have to pull his finger out if he wants to stay in this side, because you can't have a striker that doesn't look like he's going to score a goal. Not that I think he's missed loads of good chances, because they just haven't.
No, they haven't been there, have they? To be fair,
but to be frank, it's on him as much as it is the other creative players to make something happen. And
I agree. I agree, and I think I were really disappointed in. I think Tom Cannon is missing his chance here big time, because if you are and look, I mentioned this and got challenged on. I think it was 90 after 90, but Tom Cannon coming on. If you're Tom Cannon thinking, I'm number 2 here, I'm number 2 striker, and he's clearly struggling, him in front of me, if that is not all the motivation you need to say, right, it is my opportunity, because you know that Ty Campbell can pull it round and become a really good striker again. But if you're going to have any chance of getting into this side, you need to grab the bull by the horns, and you need to make a difference when you come on. He just did not do it. He ran around a little bit. And I've been patient with Cannon, and I want him to do well. Obviously, we want all our players to succeed. But I'm just thinking, what more motivation does he need as a centre forward when the main man is bang out of form and basically saying, if anybody's better than me, come and take my position. Well, nobody's stepping up to the plate. Danny Ings has been on the shelf, injured just recently, as we know. This is the thing that I'm going to come to, though, is don't sleep on Danny Ings. And these two lads that are battling it out for who can be the most out of form at the top of the pitch for Sheffield United, Danny Ings will likely, or he's certainly got the ability to take that chance and come in and be that number one striker for Sheffield United. So I don't write us off completely at the top. And Danny Ings is yet to prove it on a recent basis. But I think he could well be the key to us picking up again a little bit if Ty Campbell doesn't find his form soon.
I think unfortunately for us, Jim, I think that Wilder even calls them stretch strikers, doesn't he? So he even referred to them as Cannon and Campbell as stretch strikers. And what that means, obviously, stretch means they want the defenders to retreat and stretch the pitch out for Sheffield United to create space for the guys in behind him. I don't think any one of the three of them are typically suited to being a solo striker in the centre. I think that was kind of half of Danny Ings' problem, is that I think he's probably more suited to a two and playing. You know, you take him over there, I'll attack this space sort of thing. And yeah, I don't think the strikers have the attributes to be a solo striker. And it's a bit of a conundrum Wilder's going to have to sort out, because if he wants Cal O'Hare and Hamer in the same side, I think a lot depends on them.
Can't go two up top, can you? Can't go two up top.
No, I know, but I've said I think we should. I think Cannon looked better as part of a two towards the end of the season. I think Campbell's proving that solo role isn't really suiting him. It's certainly not right now. Whether that's service, whether that's he's not making the same kind of movements and runs, whether it's his fitness and sharpness, which I do think all contribute to this. I think it lends itself to putting two up top, and I'd like to see it a little bit more. You know, if Cal is going to run 14 kilometers in a game, try it for 20 minutes, you know, and towards the end of the year, it was his go-to solution for Bristol and then in the final as well. So I think that there is hope for him, but again, I don't see it unless Ings comes in and does something really special or Campbell rediscovers his form. This solo striker thing, I do think we need to change it, because we've got. I think there is a deadly combo there. The three of them slotted into two positions as two up top. I think that works for me. It just looks more balanced than just
Danny Ings and Ty Campbell up front together is a pretty fearsome strike duo at this level, isn't it? Particularly looking at Campbell's form last season, Danny Ings over his career. I think it writes itself really, but and I do think we're closer to that than we ever have been with him switching the formation recently. So there is hope for it, because you could still have the 3-4-1-2 that we've spoken about, but that would likely mean, as you've said, it's either Gus or Cal in the 10.
Yeah, well, we said at the end of last year, Cal was really, really good coming on with 25 minutes to go, half an hour, because the players are fatiguing, and he's coming on running through brick walls. He's great for that, and he had his best spell for us doing that. The best football Callum O'Hare has produced for us
back in the last
4 or 5 games where he was coming off the bench. That's 100% my opinion.
Like you were trying to prove a point, I need to be in this 11. Yeah, and that's what you want players to be, hungry and trying to prove a point.
And we'll need rotation in that position anyway, because Hamer's not. I don't think Hamer's good for 90 minutes every week. He'll need rotating. He'll get suspended. 100%. He'll get suspended.
Yeah,
several times. So I think Cal's has still got a big role to play, and he offers a little bit of flexibility in terms of the shape, coming in and filling in roles and bits and bobs. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say drop him after a really good performance on Saturday, obviously. But I think that the strikers, I think they need to be in a 2. Personally, I'd love to see Ings come in or Campbell rediscover his form. Ings coming in at the ground running as a solo striker, but I just think their attributes are better as a pair.
How do you think he sets up at tomorrow night then? Before we get into comments,
I
think it'll be the same team, and Matos comes in, as you've said. You think it'd be the same setup though, in terms of the 3?
Yeah, Samari wasn't his choice, was he, for the game? Chong got injured, and I think Samari probably deserved an opportunity to play based on the fact he hasn't had a lot, and when he has come on, he's looked pretty good. He's looked okay, hasn't he? So I felt like it was a reasonable call. Like you say, his performance, good first 10, 15, and then went missing. I was watching him press. He was jogging around like he was on stroll around the park on a Sunday morning. So I wasn't impressed with him for bits and bobs. And
Me too.
but then he's decent in possession and can look after it a bit. And so there was things that he did well. But Matos, I think, has got the engine, and I think that we're going to need that because we're going to be under pressure at times. Southampton have got good attacking players, and I think Matos could be the man for tomorrow. But that's just my opinion. I did say as well, for continuity purposes, I think keeping the defence the same, if he can, would be beneficial.
Agreed. And I hope you're right, mate, because I agree with the point you're making. Jack starts off tonight by saying, "Evening, lads. Hope you're well. Buzzing to be coming to the game tomorrow." Anyway, two things I want to see in this game is our midfield showing the quality and dictating the game, and our attackers to be in the box when the balls come into it, not crosses, low balls. Even if you play them just outside the box, I want to see them in the right places. That's what we've been talking about for a while, Jack, you included. Flood the box, particularly with your attacking players. Tom Cannon is most effective inside the box. So not chasing balls, not pressing a defender down for possession. You want and I think Ty Campbell's better off the shoulder of the last man, so pulling out the defender and then having a little bit of a foot race to try and get on the end of something. But I think Tom Cannon particularly, and Danny Ings will fit into this mould as well. Get him in the box. We've talked already about Callum arriving late as well. So you're right. It's first time we pull a ball back across the box with Ogbenny. Callum slots it away. It's simple stuff, really. Not always the easiest to do, but yeah, I think we need to be doing more of it. Nice day and week not to be Mardy tonight, lads. Finally had a good result, says Brett. Absolutely, we're not Mardy tonight, and we'll come on to that in a minute. Ben says, "Evening 2MB. Would love to see me play tomorrow, but understand Wilder's dilemma. If Godfrey gets the nod and plays well, it gives us more options in managing of me over the season. Up the blades, up the ramble, like and subscribe." Just a minute on Ben Godfrey, Paul, because I know a lot of people are nervous around Ben Godfrey at the moment, not thinking he's performed very well at right back. Do you think he would be better in a 3? Do you think? Because I tend to think he will be better on probably the right hand side of a 3. I think he'll look more comfortable there. What's your thoughts on if Ben Godfrey comes in tomorrow night? Are you panicking?
I'm not panicking. No, I think like you just said, I think he's better suited to being in a 3. I think that I think in the fullback position in general, when there are 4, I think that if they get isolated, I do worry about the success that the opposition can have 1v1. The Philogene, I think having seen that performance, I worry a touch. But the thing I worry about a little bit more than that from the performance at Ipswich was obviously it was a horror show for Godfrey, but I saw a bit more of backing your mate up on Saturday. Now, while we're talking about that, when a defender gets one-on-one in a wide position, the odds, again, I say the stat for the defenders, when you've got someone quick out wide or someone who's willing to take the ball and run at people, etc. And most clubs do. Most in the Championship now have players like that. I think that's the hardest thing that we underestimated, and how good people like George Baldock were at shutting people down and waiting for them to commit the wrong way and then nipping in and getting the ball. It's an art for a fullback, really, in terms of how you go about defending people, because that's where all the fastest players are. That's where all the danger men are who can usually run at teams and get some success. And I think it's probably the hardest position to be a defender in there. But I think that we'll see a little bit more now of you helping your mate out, because I always worry for defenders when I see them getting 1v1 and isolated in big areas. And it just felt like it was Philogene versus Godfrey, and he lost nearly every battle on that day. There was nobody helping him out. He cut inside a couple of times. He went past him in the box. None of his mates are there cleaning house for him. I saw a little bit of that from Ben Mee, and that's just know-how and experience. You get a split second, don't you, to make a decision as a defender. We questioned Femi on his role in the Bristol goal, but you're talking about what at match speed. You're talking about half a second. You've got a decision to make, readjusting your feet and going somewhere. And instinctively, you're going to get better decisions out of someone like Ben Mee than you are out of Femi Sariki, because he's been around the block and done it 1,000 times, and he has to rely on his brain, because the players in the Premier League are twice as fast as well. Yeah, and he has to compete with that. So you expect him to make better decisions, and I just feel like with him in there, we're going to have better communication, better decisions being made about positioning, you're probably gonna get some more cover for you, mate. Because I think Godfrey was hung out to dry a little bit by the rest of his teammates on that day at Ipswich. The more I look back at the goals and think, why is no one over helping him there? Why is he, if Philogene the on a hot streak like he was, why is no one getting in and helping him out? And it's kind of something that Vinny did really well. So Vinny would often go and double up in wide areas as well from centre mid, because he's got the engine to get over there and get his foot in, and he's a big presence and stuff. I'd like to see a bit of that from Matos, and and a bit more maybe from Samari in those areas as well. So go over and help the fullback.
Been part of the flaky mentality though, hasn't it, where they've not been given their absolute maximum every week, and it's easy to criticise that from afar, but obviously when you're getting beat every week, it must be so demoralising. And Wilder is hopefully slowly piecing that back together again, because we, like you say, now we're starting to see an extra covering run, a block tackle, somebody throwing the body on line for a little bit. Ben Mee making those smart covering, positional awareness sort of moves on the field to cover Burrows, who might have just lost his man, but Mee's there to sweep up. There's all these sort of little subtleties that are now coming into the game, and you'd hope that with a positive result on Saturday, that ticks up to a new level now in terms of, we start off from a slightly higher confidence level than we did against Oxford. And then if we can get a positive result, and it doesn't necessarily mean we have to go and hammer Southampton, but if we can get a positive result, that might build on that as well. And you have to, and this is he talked about it today, it's a rebuilding mentality as well as like a rebuild of the squad in a literal sense. It's a rebuild of mentality around these players.
Yeah, I agree, but I agree and I disagree in the same sentence, because I agree exactly what you said about the rebuild of the confidence and the mentality within the squad. That's essential. But when things are hard, one thing Wilder will be saying to him, it's hard work is going to get you out of it. There's no magic wand. There's no like,
I think he did a brilliant job of balancing that by he masterfully, when he came back, blamed the players but praised the players at the same time. So it wasn't a case of, it's all your fault, but it was, you need to share your because you've not been doing what you're capable of doing. And it was more a case of, it's like when your dad used to come home and say, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed in you. And that was what hurt the most. And that's what got the reaction. I remember Andy the Blade walking in, I'd had a pop at my mum, and he'd come in, and you thought you were going to get an absolute earful. You weren't. It were worse than that. I'm so disappointed that you'd speak to your mother like that, and you feel like it crushes you. And I think that's sort of a little bit like what Wilder's done to some of these players. Somebody like a Siddy Peck, for example. You're better than this, Siddy. I know you've been asked to do a job that's difficult for you, and I think you have been hung out to dry a little bit, which he alluded to again in presser today. I think he's been put in a difficult spot. But we also want to get Siddy back to the levels that we know he's capable of. Yeah. And I think it's a masterstroke in terms of man management. Look, people have got their opinions on Chris Wilder and his tactics and the fact that we shouldn't be going back to him for a third time, all this sort of thing. I think you'll be hard pushed to find anybody that criticises his man management skills when it comes to getting the best out of some of these players. Not every player, but some of these players. He has made a career, particularly at Sheffield United, on getting the maximum out of play. I think the prime example is Chris Basham. Chris Basham is not a brilliant footballer, never has been. Would probably be the first to tell you he's not a great footballer, but he got the absolute maximum out of what he had. And it was like a Gary Neville situation. He was obviously done it a level higher, but on a more consistent basis. But he's absolutely wrung out his towel of all of his talent. And that's huge credit first and foremost to Chris Basham. But I think Chris Wilder's pulled a bit of that out of him as well. So I love that it's one of Wilder's key traits, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. Like you say, the man management and the motivation, and the motivator, the man motivator himself.
Yeah.
I think that he's right though in the fact that you've got to have a desire to be difficult to beat. So the desire and the hard work thing, he said. He's always said it. It's a given with me. It's a prerequisite. You're not playing for me unless you go in. You see that you're grafting as hard as you possibly can on the pitch. What the graft gets you is so much. It's such a big part of the game in that when you're out of possession, a desire to be organised, that should be quite straightforward for professional footballers, to be organised enough to make it difficult. After that, it's how hard do you want to work? How front foot are you when the second ball arrives? How willing are you to get back in? How willing are you to go and make a challenge for your pal? You know, that is the fundamentals of being hard to beat. And some teams in this division, that their entire raison d'etre is to be hard to beat at all times. And then they play the percentages like a bit more like the older days.
Charlton.
Where you'd stick in a 50-50 ball and hope that your forward can get the better of the centre half or do whatever. That's fine. That's football.
Millwall do that as well.
But like Wilder says, you've got to meet them somewhere in the middle when it comes to desire, because you can be a much higher ability team. Like Sheffield United get promoted to the Premier League. Every game on paper, we're getting beat.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case, because we're working. We've got a system. We're organised. We're structured, and we're working as hard as we possibly can. Yeah, man for man, none of our players get in their team, but we're going to beat you. And that's what we had over a lot of those sides. And that is what we'll get now, is we'll see players making 50-yard runs to make tackles. We'll see players starting to believe again that they can do that. But that's about desire. It's also about fitness, which I think he bemoans a little bit about the conditioning of some of the players. Yeah. But that's that. When you get the ball, and like he was alluding to the last week, after that, it's about bravery and technique. So we know the players have got the technique, but are they brave enough to go and make that run into the? Are they brave enough to, when they've got the ball, to use it intelligently and show their quality? Because they haven't been showing their quality at all up to this point. They haven't shown any bravery whatsoever. Sorry, in the final third of the pitch. Yeah. And what Cal showed a bit of on Saturday was, I'm going to be brave enough to make the run in the box. He'll have been told to do that. I'm going to make that run. When the ball comes, it's not an hot potato. I'm not going to swipe at it first time. I'll get my touch, and then I'll put it in the corner, and I'll make sure when I hit it, it's going to go in there, and I'm going to aim for the corner, not just hit it at the goal. That's what you find often when teams are lacking confidence and haven't scored a goal for a while. They just end up shooting down the goalie's throat, because all they're concentrating on is hitting the target all the time. You've got to be cleverer than that. You've got to be Gus Aimer about it. You've got to shape it into the corner if you want to score a goal. No good blasting it down the goalie's throat. These goalies are good players. They're not just going to can't rely on a goalie's mistake to score. And I think that what we will get is, now that O'Hare's come to the table, if we get Hamer, if we get Campbell, if they start hitting the corners and scoring the goals. One thing about Campbell's finishing was it was so instinctive. Even on the first day of the season, it was superb finish, instinctive finish. Not too long to think about it, get it put in. But we just need to give him a few more opportunities to be like that. Especially if we're going to dig him out. Do I think he brings enough to the table away from the box when he's in there and when he's making his runs? I just don't think our forwards have those attributes to be a solo striker, and I'd like to see him try it with two at times, not just when we're chasing a game. I think Cal was saying, or I was watching you guys earlier talking about it wasn't. It was on Monday Night Football. Oh no, the overlap. They were talking about
similar.
Just get you mixed up with Roy Keane.
Yeah.
And he was saying about how Arteta would pick a team, and then when he went 1-0 down, he'd put on the team that should have started. Do you know what I mean? Because he was lacking a bit of bravery. I want to see Wilder be a little bit brave in his selection and move.
I think he was, weren't he, at weekend?
Move away from some of his stalwarts. We know Sidney Peck's going to play, but should he play all the time? Not for me, really. I think he needs someone who you might light a fire under him, the same way he did with Callaway last year. He's that kind of character where he'd come on and try and prove a point, and he'd probably run over to you if he ever scored a goal for us. If he ever scores a goal for us. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm hopeful that he can be nice and brave in his selection and maybe go for two up top with one behind it and try it at times, because I think the strikers would be a much happier little group, because I think it just works better for Cannon. It's always worked for Ings when I've seen him in a two. And I think Campbell probably needs somebody to take a bit of the attention off him a little bit.
I think that's fair. Dave Morwood says, evening, Jimmy and Paul. Always look forward to the three or the two of you. Up all the rambles, up the blades. Thank you, Dave. Hope you're well, pal. Mark Meldrew says, evening, lads. Hope you're both well. Tough game tomorrow, but might be a good time to play them. Going for a 2-1. Tanganga and O'Hare again. Oh, nice one. So the positive Meldrew tonight. Like that. Just play the strongest side, says Daz.
Easy, Daz. Just do that,
It sounds simple. I agree. And this is what me and Paul are saying. We would stick with the same team personally. Maybe Matos in for Samari, but I am just questioning, and I don't know whether Paul is, but I am questioning whether Wilder will think the same in terms of it. because he has to balance the squad, doesn't he, and make sure they're all fit and firing. Like Paul says, we won't find out, but it'll probably depend on Ben Mee himself as to whether he's fit or not. Lewis says, evening lads, would like both your opinions on midfield 2 moving forward. Had high hopes for Matos, but not convinced, and even though Samari needs time, I think Ian Peck feels right. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Look forward to meeting the Ramblers for the first time in Triple Point tomorrow. Come on, you red and white wizards. Are you going to be in Triple Point tomorrow, Mr. Mountain?
I might be. I might duck in there earlier for just as, I was just want to say hello to Lewis. Really, I'm not met him before,
me too. Lewis, get there early if you can. Myself, Man Mountain, Dave the Nose, Lee Edridge will all be there early. We've been given a big opportunity tomorrow. So Midnight, shout out to Midnight, the sponsors of Sheffield United. They've been in touch with the Ramble, and we are going up against a Southampton channel. We're going to be doing like the old school Sky Sports fan cams, you know, where it was like a watch. You know what I'm talking about, don't you, Paul? Where the two fans used to sit together and do commentary. Well, we've got a box at United tomorrow, and there's going to be me and Mike, the Southampton fan. We're going to be on commentary. We're going to have United boys behind us. He'll have Saints behind him. I think Matt Lattis might be involved somehow, but yeah. So this is our plan for tomorrow, mate. So we are going to be at Triple Point early doors, probably having a bit of Dutch courage before we go see Lattis and a couple of others, whoever might be there, and we're gonna go head to head with these Southampton fans and see if we can get the points tomorrow night.
I know you've brushed past Premier League legend Matt Lattis, arguably one of the most talented players.
I don't know how else to do it. I'm a bit like, how else do you do it? I don't know. It's just one of them.
No, it's good, mate. It's very good. Yeah, very excited. Like it's ridiculous. Like on Christmas Eve, like crackers excited about it. So
it's incredible, isn't it? Thank you to Midnight. That'll be available on Midnight Sports YouTube channel later in the week, I believe. So we'll try and get some footage from it as well, so we can show you on the Ramble and push you that way. Because brilliant opportunity for us as a channel, and brilliant opportunity for the club to get 3 points, which is the most important thing. Brett says, would you take a draw against the Saints? I would. I don't want to, but I think a draw is a decent result. It doesn't take us off the bottom of the league. Paul, would you take a point if I offered you it now?
No.
Really?
No, I wouldn't, because they're not pulling up trees themselves. They've got to come a long way to Bramall Lane. We're on a bit of a up, certainly from where we've been. I think that they haven't really hit the straps like everyone expected them to either. I think it's about now. Can we recreate the second half performance and put together a 90-minute performance? I think it suits us that they'll come and play, because I said that about Oxford as well. I thought Oxford would come and play, and I thought again we were better side second half. I think it'll suit us that they want to come and play.
Yeah, agreed.
It'll open up a bit of space for the likes of Ogbenny, for the likes of Campbell to get on his bike at times, and I'm hopeful that it's I don't think they'll come with a lot of plans to sort of nullify our threats, if you know what I mean. I think they'll turn up thinking, yeah, we can go there and win, and they probably can, but I think we've got to have the same mentality into the game. I don't think Wilder would take a point right now. I think we need him to get on a good run for me, and we've certainly got the players to do it, Jim, and why not?
Yeah,
clean sheet on Saturday, wouldn't it?
Love that, mate. Love that. Nigel's evening, gents. For me, it's got to be the same team after the win against Oxford to keep the momentum up and ongoing. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, up behind the Ramble. Ramble FC, like and subscribe. Thank you. Al says, Jim lad. My very best wishes to good ship Sheffield United in their battle against those pirates, the Saints. As a neutral, I reckon ye will prevail. By the scuppers, lad. Thank you, Al, the pirate. Shiver me timbers, indeed. Sheila's Wheels says, evening, lads. Buzzing after Saturday. Just watched you and Cal. Fantastic banter between you. Didsy award to Harrogate for me. Anything to get Ainsworth down, you'll do for me. I think we settled on Harrogate in the end, to be honest.
Mate, I can't wait for an Harrogate fan to phone in and speak to Cal. Like you pair. Oh, should we talk about Harrogate? No, the rubbish. Right, move on. Like, literally, that's what happens every single week. So I think they should get the...
I'm expecting some Leeds fans to defect soon anyway, so we'll wait and see. If Harrogate keep winning and Leeds keep losing, that's what'll happen, I think. So yeah, we do gloss over Harrogate in that because neither of us watch Harrogate or know much about them. Meant to, says Julie. Jack says, I think these will sit back and try and hit us on the counter like the other teams have done. I completely disagree. How come Ben Godfrey didn't travel down to Ipswich? Danny Hall reported it was a personal reason rather than injury. So hopefully that's been cleared up, wherever that is. Can't wait to get in triple point tomorrow, says Brett. I'm quite shy, so come and say hi, people. Mine's a pint if you're really nice. A very positive 3-1 win for the Blades. Incoming up all the positive ones.
Is that what Brett's after now? Now he's been on the...
I know. He wants that.
Pint, like, no.
He wants to be recognised like Man Mountain gets at Wembley.
Well,
that's what he's after. Are you Brett, the positive one? Can I buy you a pint? I'm
a bit shy.
I'm a bit shy, mate. A bit shy. But I'll have a pint of gold, please. My only issue with Matos right now, says Jack, is he seems to run around doing very little. Their last shot, he ended up diving into a block and kept his studs up. Could easily be a bad challenge. You're right. I remember that. That was a really bad challenge. Were it Will Volks that he dived in on? It was a nasty late challenge that I thought we were lucky not to get a card for. So just has to be wary, don't it? Like, none of them are top-level championship players in the middle at the moment, and I think we're just trying to find the right combination. Like Paul says, I think Samari gives us a little bit more endeavour in there at the moment. He certainly does put himself about a little bit. Samari, you can see why he's been signed. You can see what he brings to the side. But I felt Samari went missing a little bit at the weekend.
I think part of being a good centre mid at this level is, I mean, obviously, this is obvious, but consistency. And I think that with these three, what we are going to see is good performance, average performance, poor performance, good, bad, average. I think it's just going to fluctuate up and down. Like you say, what you really want is a little bit of consistency in there. Davies can provide it. He's got to prove he's going to be fit. It is an area that I don't want to see him too biased towards City all season. If City's dropping off, and he does drop off, he goes from being one of our best players to being one of our least effective and making a lot of mistakes. And in centre mid, you just got to keep the engine running, haven't you? You've got to keep the ball moving.
Yeah, you have.
You've got to do things quickly. Even in the game on Saturday, City he was up and down all the way through. Some good stuff, some poor stuff, some good stuff, poor stuff. He needs to sort that out a little bit. And yeah, and like you say, it's just something you get with 20-year-old footballers or 21-year-old footballers. I
thought it were much better second half, to be fair, City. Yeah, but you could say that about a fair number of teams, to be honest. Kel says, hi, Jimmy, hope you're well. Are you going tomorrow night? Yes, we are. We're all going. A few of the Ramblers are going down tomorrow, as we've just mentioned, Kel. Yes, I think Chris will rest me, says Ray, and hopefully we see the Callum step up and be the player we know he can be. And Hamer, we need him to also step up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Not seen the best of Hamer yet this season, so he has to get in the right mindset and show his qualities. Campbell, well, he seems short of confidence at the moment. A goal will settle him down. Yeah, I think that's fair, Ray. I think that's fair. A goal would settle him down. I think I'd love nothing more than Campbell to get a goal tomorrow night. John says, keep up the good work, Jimmy. Same team to play, Southampton. 2-1 to the Blades. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, pal. H from Steps says, evening, Jimmy. Thing with TC is he isn't mobile enough. He seems like he doesn't run the channels. He's too static. He hardly moves from between the centre halves and looks lost up front. Come on, you Red and White Wizards. Oh, you get the votes also. Thank you, pal. What I would say is, I agree at the moment he's not making the right movements and he is looking fairly static in a lot of games. He's not really showing for the ball like we've seen previously. But we have seen it previously where he does run the channels and he does put himself about. So I don't know whether it's a fitness thing, a confidence thing, what it is with Tyrese Campbell at the moment. But he's not hitting the same levels as he was last time. I wouldn't like to say it's commitment, but you know, it's one of those things where he's not doing what we've seen of him previously. So to say he doesn't rather than he isn't, I would say slightly just the difference there rather than he never has. Last season, Ty run the ball to the edge of the box, says Jack. Hold the play up, skin his man. Now he's just too busy with throwing them to the ground. It were a bit frustrating that at times, I have to say. Riff says, Campbell has been the worst player by a long way this season. Nothing sticks to him. Don't agree. He don't get the ball fed to him. Minimal requirements is to hold up the ball. Cannon's been slightly better. I'm not sure. I don't think I could argue that Cannon's been slightly better. I'm not saying Campbell's done great in terms of holding up. And I think Paul made this point, to be honest. It's not sticking to him like it should, like a centre forward would normally look after it. But I still don't think he's being fed chances on goal. There's a difference between receiving the ball with your back to goal and not really looking after it like you'd want him to, but also being on the end of something, which is very rare that he has done. I think you saw a couple of times at the weekend where he snapped a shot at goal. Paul said it right. He's been very instinctive previously in front of goal, and he'd find the bottom corner. Well, twice we've seen recently where he's curled one round the post from about 6 yards, and it's gone a couple of feet away from the post. And then he shot one across goal like it were in two minds, which were like a cross shot, which trickled past the post, and the far post. And you think, you're better than that. And that's the frustrating thing, because we've seen so much better from him previously. CPTD says we create very little, but one goal is enough if we get a clean sheet, and that's what Wilder will do. Get us solid at the back and hard to beat first. Campbell doesn't look fit. Me, O'Hare did well. Completely agree. Paul, the Blade in Spain, says, evening fellas, I feel like City is getting a lot of unnecessary flack so far this season. He's been asked to play a role he is simply not suited to, and you can feel the frustration in the lad. I think Wilder's highlighted that point quite specifically, to be honest, Paul, particularly in his presser today. But he's, by the same token, he's done a little bit like we've talked about previously. He's been quite cute in how he's critiqued some of the performances over the season. He's sort of said City's been hung out to dry a little bit. I don't think he used that terminology, but he said similar. But he also has to up his levels, and I think that's a fair criticism. H says, Godfrey is disappointing and saying he's a Premier League Serie A player. Wilder might have called him out and he's thrown his teddy out. Gilchrist was and is a better player than him in that position. Would sooner have had him instead. The fact that Gilchrist's gone for $1.5 million is a steal for West Brom. I don't think he's fit yet, though, at the minute, because he hasn't been playing for him. Hi, Paul. Hope you're well. Love your background, says Kel. There you go. There you go. Getting some praise for Mounty Towers.
Yeah.
Sean says, praying Tom Davies can kick on and stay fit now. He's by far our best centre midfielder when fit. Disagree. But like Peck, he needs a destroyer at the side of him, just like Peck does. Matos, Samari need to step up the blades, like and subscribe. Ollie Arblaster's our best player, best centre midfielder when fit, Sean, in my opinion. Tom Davies, I think, can impact the first team. I'm not hanging my hat on him to be our saviour in centre midfield, I have to say. Firstly, because I think we've got to be it's very presumptuous to say he will stay fit. It's a huge question mark over Tom Davies, always has been. Sometimes when you come back from a long-term injury, there's a little bit of rust that you need to work off. I think him and Sidney Peck in the middle did a good job together last season. I think we were flogging them towards Christmas time and asking them to do way too much. We didn't have the depth then either. And it just got a little bit too much for him towards the end. Just about crawled over the line. Any thoughts on Tom Davies coming in and making a difference, Paul?
Yeah. I think he can. I think he, again, when you look at that midfield three and how young, inexperienced, number of games, all those things, especially at championship level, you're not talking about very many. I think people expect a lot of City. I think he's I said this before, I think he's made a little bit of a rod for his back by being a big success last year. But even if you remember last year, he was inconsistent. So he'd still have 2 or 3 really good games, and then you'd see a massive drop off on him, because it's the nature of being a young player. I think he might have got a little bit too, I don't know, I don't want to say hubris, or I don't want to say like too cocky. But he's been involved with England, hasn't he? And I think in a young player, when they have that kind of breakthrough season, he's got to keep doing the basics, and the platform he gives himself to go and play and show his quality. So, like in the second half, like Jim said, he all of a sudden he's turning away from people when under pressure and stuff like that, and he can definitely do that. But I think he needs to be a little bit swifter in his work as well. So I think now he looks, although he has got a good pass in him, he's a little ponderous in terms of moving the ball. Now, he could argue that's because the outlets are not on the pitch, and the people that he wants to give it to aren't making those runs to receive it or finding the spaces they need to. Which again is you watch a football player in a really good, successful team who all are brave and want to show for the ball. I think they're different to someone who's trying to do too much. And I think that at times, I think City's just trying to be a little bit too cute, taking a bit too long, or he's not got those options that he needs in order to do something a bit quicker and a bit better. Because I think that's the key now. It's that you get that victory that we've got. It's bravery. It's bravery in your decision making in the fight, in the attacking third, and that is often the difference between winning championship football matches and not. You know, you what you get with Wilder is you get the platform to go and play. So you get the hard work, you get the dropping on second balls, you competing because you've got to compete, otherwise you'll be down the road. So it's that, for me, that's City doesn't look as good as last year. That could be a number of reasons, and I've given him maybe a couple of there that it's down to him to an extent, but also it's down to the guys around him. You know, if he had loads of options and he can play quick and he can do the things that he was doing well last season, then you see a different performance from everybody, don't you, really?
Yeah, agreed, mate. Agreed. Phil says, could try playing Barry up front. Can't be any worse than Cannon. I don't think he's a striker. He has played there previously, though. That's understandable that you raised that. On paper, says Alessandro, Southampton side is very good, but like us, they're struggling under a new manager. This might be an ideal time to face them and hopefully win now that Wilder's got a win under our belt. Yeah, hope so, pal. H says, shame Wilder doesn't keep the same team, but replace Campbell with One. He's more of a handful for centre halves and more height for set pieces and corners. I just think there's a bit of a drop-off in overall quality with Ryan One from Tyrese Campbell, but we're not far off getting to that point because Campbell's not offered us the most at the moment. I think we're unlikely to see One come in for Campbell, to be honest. John says, hi lads, got to keep a winning side. If Me's not injured, you play him. Can always rest him Saturday. You take one game at a time. I think that's what Paul was leaning to, rather than what I was saying, that he thinks. I think Wilder might take him out because it's the middle game of the three. But again, I hope I'm wrong with that, and I hope he plays tomorrow night. Jimmy, have you picked the team for tomorrow night? Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Get this channel to 10k. Thank you, Kel. Yeah, I picked it on Countdown to Kick Off. I picked my team, and I also gave a predicted lineup. So if you want to go and have a look at that, that's out as well. James says, got a feeling. You what?
Yeah, go and watch it. I'm not telling you.
No, well, I can't remember it off the top of my head, to be honest. I went same team. I think my team is the same team, but I think for his team, I've swapped out Ben Mee for Godfrey. Pretty much, that's the only change, I think. But I'd have to go back and check myself, to be honest. I did it a couple of days ago. Got a feeling Cannon scores tomorrow night. I hope you're right, James. I hope you're right. Go on, Jimmy Midnight, says Paul. Thank you, mate. If we lose, that'll be embarrassing, says Jack. You've got to put yourselves in these positions, aren't you, pal? Completely agree, Phil. Barry in League One finishing was incredible. So if Barry doesn't need to get past the man on the wing and up top and clear a sighted goal, would back Barry to score. And Cannon doesn't look hungry, interested, and collecting his wages at the moment. He's our number 7 and matching our last number 7 at the moment in Brewster. 30 million up to the combined for Cannon and Brewster. It was nowhere near that. We need another win tomorrow night, says Kel. We certainly do. Take 3 points. Will be a bonus over the season. Oh, you take a point. Sorry, 3 points will be a bonus over the season. Yeah, okay. I misread that. So of course you're going to take 3 points, but yeah, you take a point tomorrow night. Brett says, in all fairness, every point gain counts at the moment until you get your groove back properly. I think that's fair as well. James says, if we beat Southampton, would you be confident going into Hull? Absolutely right, I would. Absolutely right. When's Andy the Blade back on? You asked me this last stream, James. I'm going to try and get him. He's at Oktoberfest at the minute. I'll try and get him on for international break if he's recovered. I'm sure he will have done. There's only one St Mary's, back of John Street. I was baptised there. Yeah, that's where Triple Point is, if anybody wants to see us tomorrow night. 1-0 Everton at half-time. It's just kicked off second half. Thank you, Bri. That shows where we are in comments. I thought Matos looked decent second half. Good challenge on the Oinker on Saturday. Yeah, that wasn't a good challenge. That were a terrible challenge, but fair dues. Putting a quid or two on Egan, Lundstrom or McBurney to score any time on Saturday. Just know it's going to happen. McBurney to score would be a decent bet, I think, to be honest. I don't want it to happen, obviously, but where's the main man, Dave the Nose? Where is he, Paul?
Out from mother-in-law's birthday, isn't he?
He is. He's out for a family meal tonight. I think he contemplated flying back early to get it, but then he does enjoy being married, so he's chosen to stick to his commitments. Chris says, if Paul was stood next to me at an Oasis concert, I would have asked him if he'd been live on the internet. Nice. Matt says that's not going away, is it?
Nope.
I'm working away tomorrow, so I can't make the game, says Matt, but hopefully 3 points. I'll take a draw. Good luck, lads, tomorrow with Sky. It sounds amazing. Meeting a football legend as well. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. It's not with Sky, just to be clear. It's a midnight initiative, so the sponsors of United and Southampton, it's going to be on their YouTube channel, so that's something we're really looking forward to. I thought Hamer looked much better Saturday. Could have had a couple of goals and an assist, got into some good spots. More of the same tomorrow, hopefully. Kel thinks Campbell's missing Brewster. I think you said that last time as well. Abbas says, so many bad takes regarding Campbell. Can we all remember that the first sniff of goal he had this season, he netted against Bristol? And then what happened to the second sniff of goal he had, and the third and the fourth, that he's fluffed his lines at Abbas? I think that is a bad take regarding Campbell, if I'm completely honest. I would love to be on here praising it. Look, it's not, we don't do it for pleasure or clicks or anything like that to be coming on and criticising our players. I want Tyrese Campbell to be back to the levels he was last season, because if he gets anywhere near it, he'll help pull us out of this position. He's best we've got, and I think we just all want him to get back to those levels, but I can't see how you can feel he's playing well at the moment. It's a confidence issue, he says, completely. I agree with that element of it.
Yeah.
Go on, mate.
Abbas, yeah, honestly, mate, listen, last year, you won't find a bigger fan of him in terms
Absolutely.
of what he brought to the table, and his instinctive finishing was excellent. And he's not there at the minute. It proved it was well proven on Saturday. He just doesn't seem to have the same conviction. And yeah, with strikers, it can be about confidence and stuff like that. But trust me, he's not. The thing is, as well, like I said about City, he made a little rod for his back. He's going to be our talismanic forward. He started every game, hasn't he, for us so far?
Yeah, I think so.
He's still highly regarded. We just want him to get back to where he was, obviously, and so I'm sure he does as well. Wilder will realise that he's not firing on all cylinders like he was last year, and it doesn't mean that we've written him off. It just means that he's just got to work hard in the first part, and then you earn the right to play, and then hopefully you get yourself a goal. And with strikers, it can be you get that one, and then it becomes 5, 6, 7, doesn't it? So it was certainly not writing off Ty Campbell, mate.
Agreed. Lee says, mentioned on Friday's watch along, I fancied us to nick it at Oxford 1-0. You did. Fancy us to do the same tomorrow night. We look so much more solid in a back three. If they don't score, we can't lose. Up the Blades, up the two Mardy Blades. James says Davies and Peck is the go-to midfield two until Blaster is back fit, if both are match fit. And Sean says, admittedly, he forgot about Blaster. Jimmy, did you mention the other day that players are turning against Will Still, the new coach at Saints? He ain't ripping this league up with the squad they have. No, I didn't say that. I said there had been something posted in our group. I think it was an anonymous, when I say an anonymous report, it was a report by Alan Nixon. I think it was Nixon, that said an unnamed club, the captain of an unnamed club in the Championship, had gone to the higher-ups and said they weren't happy with the manager. And we speculated it could be Southampton, it could be Blackburn, which some people were talking about as well. And Cal said tonight, Cal Fowler said he'd read the same thing, and he assumed it were Watford, because Watford changed the manager more than most of us change his pants. So it's it could be anybody, to be honest. It's a speculative thing, really. But any club that's struggling and hasn't yet changed their manager, it could count for any of those, particularly with a new manager at the helm. So it may be Southampton, but we can't hang our hat on that to say that it definitely is.
It fits the profile, doesn't it, for being a side that you expect to go really, really well. Got a new manager, and now nobody seems to be pulling up any trees. And I think they definitely fall into the category. And
the report went on to say something like the board acknowledged what the captain had said, but they're too much invested, or it will cost too much money at the moment to get rid of the current manager, but they will sort of look at it in a different light going forward. So, and again, this is Alan Nixon. So it's patchy. But sometimes he's bang on with stuff, and other times he's miles away. So
I do wonder how these things get in the press. I'll be honest. It can't be good for the captain either, can it?
Bri, I'll read this for your benefit, pal. H, are you asking, will still be the manager for much longer? Yes, nice. Under 21s have beaten the Piggies 1-0. Always good to see. James got a feeling Cannon couldn't score in a house of ill repute. Kel says Blades will win 2-0. Campbell and O'Hare. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, up behind the Ramble. Thank you. Paul, surely Cannon can't be this bad. I hope. I still think Cannon will come good, says Bry. Jimmy, I come on every stream and I don't normally mention my team as I respect it's a Blades channel and I enjoy talking about the Blades. But I would just like to get yours and Paul's thoughts on Sunderland as we were playoff rivals. Brett, you are more than welcome to come on any stream and talk about whatever you want. We are a Blades channel predominantly, but everybody's welcome. Thoughts currently on Sunderland, Paolo?
I think they've recruited very well. I think they're certainly having a go. I think that the team has changed. I mean, I was watching the highlights. I think you've probably got about 7 or 8 new players in there. You're still persevering with a centre forward and a few of the other players. Not too many, but I do think they've got a good side. Lafay seems to be back on in favour and playing well. I think he's got a little bit of quality that can open up defences and loads of pace. I think the key to this is physically they can compete, Sunderland, in terms of the physicality of the league. I think that when United went up, my main problem was it looked like a set of 10-year-olds against a set of 16-year-olds all the time. And I think Sunderland don't have that problem. I think they've acquired players that can compete physically at the level, and that is always going to give them a good chance. I'm intrigued to see how Bravery gets on, the centre forward that they've signed as well.
Yeah,
he comes with a little bit of pedigree from Ajax, and as really good. Isidor's keeping him out at this point, but I think Bravery's going to be a good player for you as well. Players like a Dingra as well is a really good signing for him.
Yeah, really good signing.
Great signing for them, isn't he? And if you can get Lafay pulling some strings for you, Xhaka's a great signing. You know, I think those types of players in Xhaka and certainly like Henderson at Brentford, I questioned when he was signed by him if it was going to work, because you think aging legs in a high intensity position like central midfield. But Xhaka and for you guys, and also Henderson for them, just brings an awful lot of know-how, a lot of good quality on the ball, and have still got loads to offer. So I think, mate, I've said this as well when I've been watching them, they have really got a puncher's chance of staying alive this season, and it's the first time in a while that I look at the promoted sides and think there's one of these is going to stay up. Possibly.
I agree. I think Sunderland have probably got the best chance of the 3, but I don't write Leeds off either.
You wouldn't have said that, would you?
No, not at all.
At the end of last season, certainly.
Because the gap is usually historically so big, but I think Sunderland have done such a brilliant job of recruitment, and Leeds have got stronger as well. And people are sort of.
He's a good manager.
He is. Well. Yeah, he is. And
he can spot where he can have his little wins on the pitch for Regis. So I think he's going to prove to be a really astute manager for you. I still think Sunderland are going to survive.
Bry says Sunderland looking good to stay up for me, Brett, and Brett says I hope so. Bry. James says Cannon is just a great finisher and offers nothing else apart from that. He would flourish in a team like last season's Leeds team with wingers that can beat a man. H says, with our last comment of the night, I think, Jimmy, you and Paul are missing the third wheel. Long live Dave the Nose. Up all the rambles, up the blades. Brilliant show, as always. Thank you, mate. Look, we're a trio for a reason, aren't we? Look, we do different combinations. I've been on View from the Mountain before as a very special guest of Paul's. But yeah, it's Dave's been on with me before doing 2 Mardy blades. When we can, we all want to get together and be a 3, but sometimes on the odd occasion, we don't get to, and we were excited to talk about the win, and we haven't got together to talk about it properly yet.
I would have argued that this stream wouldn't have happened if it had been another defeat.
You're most likely right. And we don't know what's around the corner. It might be another defeat tomorrow night, but let's hope not, because we have got a really exciting day in front of us tomorrow, mate. And just hope United can do the business for us, because it'd be nice to have the bragging rights on a midnight stream, wouldn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, I'd love to rip Latisse in half at the end of the night. give. Oh, you know what I mean? Crikey. Not really.
Public channel.
He's not my type. But no, he's I'd love to be able to say to Matt Letitia, well done, good game, and shake his hand and go and know that we've got the better of him, because I know he'll be he's very biased towards Southampton. I've seen him.
So he should be. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know, but it would be lovely, wouldn't it, to do that? And
it'd be great. We might have to review whether we're actually doing 90 after 90 directly after the game now, because because of this latest development, it's likely that I might push it back to Wednesday night, and we'll wait and see. I'll let you know with
11
plenty of
o'clock
time.
on a Tuesday, Jim, is not a
I
time.
know, but I might be buzzing, man. We'll have to wait and see. We'll play it by
on your own.
I might be.
Buzzing
Right.
on your own.
We're going to call it there. Thank you to everybody that's joined in tonight. Thank you especially to Paul for joining me. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards.
Up the blade.
All over!